good morning, and welcome back. Yeah, haha, yes, back with another one. I don't know what just happened there. That was weird. Oh, it's dark in here. Wow, I swear we were. Oh well. Anyway, yes, welcome back. This is Let's Talk About It with Jay for the dub. I am he is me, and today is March the 4th, which I honestly almost forgot myself. But yeah, I've had a couple of different Oh, okay. Anyway, I've had a couple of different people tell me what we should talk about today. My father actually posted in the group. For those of you who aren't in the group, for the dub, yeah, I started a group for people who want to just keep up with the show a lot easier and stuff. I'll be posting there a little bit more, and I encourage everybody else to post in there as well, and just join the group as well. It's public at the current moment. If it gets enough traction and stuff like that, then I might close it off so it doesn't get too crowded and things like that. But yeah, so today I guess I'll kind of just touch on whatever, I didn't have too much planned for today, but yeah. So, like I said, my father, he had mentioned, he said, he put the question up, he said, what is love? Which is quite interesting because I actually asked quite a few people this quite recently, and I've gotten quite a few different answers, and it really raises the question on, like, what is love to you and, like the people around you, and exactly, and, I guess ultimately, what I had come down to, it's like the caring for someone more than yourself, but it goes a lot more deeper than that. But just to put it as far as like simple terms, that is it. But like when you try to put that into perspective of like situational things and stuff like that, and life, it really gets hard, and the lines kind of get blurred. So it's really a complicated thing to talk about, and a very good question to raise. Like, what is love? I'm not really in the zone to talk about what is love, but in just any particular situation, as you can look at how much you can care about somebody, or how much you allot yourself to care about a particular individual due to particular circumstances. Because I guess in just saying that, you raise the question of how much you love or care about a person, due to certain circumstances. As I said, if you love somebody, or, what you say is love, depending on what they do, sometimes you might be willing to cut that person off completely. Somebody says, fear of God, respect for people you care about and around you. That's what love is. I can definitely understand that. But why do we have to? That raises another question that I like to touch on really quick. Because you put in there fear of God. Like, why is it that we use the term fear of God? And I only say that because we associate fear with such a negative emotion, or it is quite a negative emotion. You don't I guess you don't want someone to, in a sense, respect you due to the fact that they fear you. And the fact that fear is incorporated with love, I understand how, it would definitely be like the other side of the spectrum, I guess. And you would, incorporate that within your definition. And it makes a lot of sense. And I'm not, like I said, knocking it or anything like that, because I think it's a very good point. And I definitely understand you putting that in there. But like I said, I'm just touching and raising the questions that, like I said, why is it that we use the term fear of God, or, fear in the sense, like, why is it that we have to have such a negative thing? And in my mind, at the same time, like, I totally understand as far as it goes, because I've had the conversation about the positive and negative energy flow, and someone definitely can't understand how bad things are or how good things truthfully are if they don't know exactly how bad things can get or how good things can get. In the sense of, if you've never been in a situation where you've had a flat tire and not had anybody to fix it, or you've not had the equipment to fix it and just been stuck in a situation, I mean, then the thoughts of just having a car and expecting it to run and, not having any difficulties with the vehicle, like those things, you never experienced that. So your first time experiencing that, or even, just somebody's first time experiencing that, may be a way more traumatic experience. And, they'll tell the story as if it's something super big and super dramatic, but at the time, like I said, that they have never experienced something like that, or on that scale of, like negativeness, like I said, or negative energy, like I said. And so they won't understand how good things can possibly be, or how good it possibly can get. And so, like I said, by putting that on the scale of, I guess, the fear and love, like I said, you don't understand exactly. It would make a lot of sense if somebody has not experienced a huge level of fear, I guess you could say, if we're going to use that as the negative emotion to love, or the negative side of love. Like I said, if you haven't experienced the extreme level of fear and loneliness that goes with the feeling of lack of love, and you've never experienced what it's like to actually be at that level, you would not understand how much love, or the amount of love that people have for you, or the amount of love that you can actually express towards other people, or, and so on. Like I said, however you would scale out getting numerous amounts of love, or being able to give out numerous amounts of love. It says we have just like anyone that's losing a spouse wouldn't understand the grief a widow if they've never gone through that. I understand that. Yeah, somebody who has never experienced what it's like to, lose a particular person in their life, a brother, a sister, a spouse, a husband, a wife, a son, daughter, whoever it is that's you hold that close bond to or relationship to, whether it be a blood relationship or a non-blood relationship. Like I said, like the level of fear and loneliness that comes with the lack of love, you don't understand how much love there was there before, or and things like that too. I guess, like I said, to put it on a scale or a spectrum of any sort. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to knock anybody's definition or views or anything like that. I'm just, like I said, I'm here. Let's talk about it. So we're here to raise the question or just to get the conversation moving. And I appreciate, the thumbs up and the 100 because I try my best to articulate like different feelings and emotions that can be tied to, different things. And like I said, that's why I didn't want to point like right at what is love exactly, because as I've asked people the question here recently and stuff like that, I've gotten lots of different answers, and I've always been somebody who has unconditionally cared about people, and even people who have wronged me, like people have told me like, oh, why are you still, associating with that person? And it's like, you have to understand sometimes that the people around you aren't in the same situation or place that you're in. So, like I said, like a lot of times you have to care about that person a little bit more than they may even care about themselves at the time. And like I said, my definition of what love is, or just the amount of caring for other people, I have, like I said, it goes a long way, and it's like I said, other people may question it or whatever, but that's how I have been taught to receive and distribute my love in a sense. So I mean, like I said, it's or just my perspective of caring about people, or unconditionally and stuff like that. So it's a huge question, and a very good thing to that we started talking about, and just kind of got the conversation flowing a little bit and got that out there. I appreciate everybody who's commenting right now and stuff. Deanna, I appreciate the comment that it definitely puts like I said, a good picture on, like I said, people not, or not even, I'm not going to say people not doing anything, but it definitely paints a huge picture of that level of lack of love you could feel at a certain point, to paint a picture of how much love you have around you, and things like that. Or not even that, but just if you wanted to put a scale on it, how bad things could be. But yeah, like I said, thank you for your example and stuff like that. John says, yes, being understanding and empathetic to other people in your circle could be considered a form of love. Says, even when you can't relate to it yourself. Yeah, very true. Even when you can't relate to what it is that somebody is going through, it's can be hard to be empathetic in some cases, because like you said, you don't understand exactly what that is that they're going through. You just I've been wondering why, but yeah, you just continue to try or whatever, you listen to the issues, you can sit and listen, because sometimes a lot of time all people need you to do is just sit and listen, not necessarily even give an opinion or tell them what they should or shouldn't be doing in the situation. Is just kind of listen to what it is that they're dealing with, and that could be enough of caring, like you said, because you might not understand exactly what that person is going through, or even how they're feeling, or what the emotions behind everything is, because they can only tell you so much. And when they're speaking about a situation, they can only tell you about the situations that are right there on the forefront of their mind, not the situations that might have led up to this, or even the things that are leading up to them feeling the way they're feeling while they're telling you about this. So it was a huge part of, just regular conversation, or just informing somebody about anything, or just communication in general, that I have a huge thing against. I don't know, like I spoke about it the other day, about how broken like English language is, and how we use so many we use a lot of the same words for so many different things, and it gets confusing when you're trying to communicate on a just regular basis about simple things. And it's incredible how, you could even think that you could get a serious conversation across now and have somebody fully understand what you're saying. But yeah, to the whole thing, it's quite a confusion. It's I find myself getting into like talking about like things so complex as love, or and, and I think about it so much that it I try to break it down to something so simple, and it sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and you really want to grasp or hold on to those like ideal, like simple thoughts about like, okay, well, what is love, and so much to try and explain stuff and have these kinds of conversations. But then you start to veer off into so many different directions like now, and it like I said, it gets to a point where things get so confusing. And like I said, and it solely comes from the lack of communication, or just simply the fact that in the English language, like I was just saying, that we use so many words to describe so many different things, or we use one word that can describe so many different things, and it kind of disgusts you in a way when you start to realize it, or like it's almost disgusting in the sense of like when you actually start paying attention to politics and you're like, oh well, this is what you guys been doing over here, like, and this is really what's going on. Like I can't even, I don't have the time to pay attention to this, and it gets that like disgusting. I don't know if anybody associates that level of disgust with politics as much as I do, but that's another conversation for another time. And I mean, to talk about what is love, and to the point of like I'm saying about how we kind of confuse or use words so much they kind of get devalued in a sense. I want to, and just talking about like bringing up politics and stuff like that, and the things that people say, oh, I love this, oh, I love that. Like, I would like to bring attention to that, and the kind of, like I said, the disconnect and the communication about it, and how people can use, like I've been saying, like we've been talking about values and stuff like that recently, how people value things so much, like materialistic things. They value it so much that they could use a word that we describe how much we care about another person to describe the level of value those things hold in that person's life. Like for instance, like I said, people can be like, oh, do you like frozen yogurt? They're like, oh my gosh, I love frozen yogurt. And it's frozen yogurt. It's just food. And anybody who knows me, they know I'm not a big giant pick. Quite a picky eater. I'm not a big fan of just like overindulging in food, or like the food channels where they just like cook so much food to really just throw it away, or like just the fact that people, like I said, overindulge in food is kind of disgusting in a sense to me. But that's just my personal perspective. I don't want to make it disgusting to other people. But anyway, to the point, like I said, it to the point about that, I got kind of caught up on just talking about how disgusting overindulging in food was, it kind of got me wrapped up in that thought for a second. So I apologize if what I was about to say, I lost it. But as I try to gather my thoughts back, I wow. But yeah. It's hard to yes, that is very true. Lots of people use the term love to express strong admiration. That and it's like you said, like you have actually chosen the right one of the right words to describe exactly what it is that um they admire so much. Like I said, about these particular things, that they admire it to the point in which they say that they love it. And it's not that they actually, deep down love this more than they could care about a person or anything like that. They just ultimately like enjoy it so much, or it brings them so much joy. I know as a boyfriend, in multiple situations, there have been times where my girlfriend, or loved one, or anyone, like any female around me, has been like, oh my gosh, I'm so hungry, and you've brought them food, and I don't know what it is, but it just brings them so much joy. And it's hilarious, almost, to me, from my perspective. Like I said, I can't describe it for anybody else, but in numerous occasions I can describe like the joy that it actually brings to their face. And it's quite funny. But yeah, it's like I said, those are the type of things that people admire so much, that it really like brings them such level of bliss. Yeah, like I was saying, like all these terms can be used so loosely that people ultimately lose the true value of what it is that the word means, or what it is that they're truthfully trying to say. For instance, people use the word like. I say like this, like that, like this. Or I could easily say, for instance, or I could say, there's numerous other terms and phrases that someone can say instead of using the same word over and over and over. Or you know what I mean? Like, a lot of people say that after they're talking, because it's not that they've even used a complete sentence. They're just, getting a little bit of their point across, and then, like being like, yeah, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, and it's funny how a lot of people don't realize that they're doing stuff like that. Like I said, it's ultimately just a disconnect in communication, and how communication is broken overall. But we can do better. We can do better. And ultimately, that's like one of my main things is I don't want to, really tell people what to do or tell people how to do better. I just want us as people to do better. But yeah, I know we were talking about love and stuff like that, but you can only really hit on a subject for so long before it becomes like a loose circle of just going about the same things. You can put it into different scenarios and try and play it out and see how this works and that works, but like I said, you can only go on about something for so long. And like I said, if we continue to push the conversation of what is love, we'll be sitting here trying to, grasp different concepts of different people's mindsets, who ultimately have just probably come from different backgrounds, or just grew up in a different way and don't see things the same way that you do. And it ultimately seems like they don't care about this or they don't care about that, but in reality, it's just that they don't see it the same way you do. So you're trying to understand how somebody cannot care about this, or like people who don't care about animals. Like a lot of those people maybe haven't even grew up with an animal, or grew up like actually even seeing animals as like kind of living creatures just the same as they are. They're kind of seeing animals more as like they see their car, and it's just another object that's out there that could possibly kill them. Like, a moving car, if it hits them, it could kill them. Granted, it's not in their mind, or, come to their perspective that it does take the person driving the car to hit them to, do that. But, like I said, some people see things only at surface level, and it's crazy that, some people's minds and perspectives only go that far. And like I said, they view, animals just the same as like, okay, well, this thing can kill me. Like if a dog comes up and attacks me, like it's going to do major damage to me. Or if a bear comes up and attacks me, it's going to do major damage to me. It's going to attack me. It has a mind of its own. It's going to, do whatever. Like I said, if a car is moving at me, it has a mind of its own. It's going to do whatever. Like they can stump on the brakes, it spins, whatever, and it still hits me. Like some people's perspective. Like I said, it's not for everybody to understand why they view it just that way, but that's just how they view it. And like I said, I'm not the person to speak on everybody's perspective. I try my best to paint pictures from lots of different views, maybe the far left and the far right, as far as I can go to either direction. But yeah, like I said, it's a lot, and that's part of the reason why things and people use terms so loosely, because in different settings, like I said, different people find different things to be reasonable or acceptable, and it's cool. There's nothing wrong about it, and there's nothing wrong with those people. Like I said, the things around them have molded them differently, and that's just what it boils down to in a sense. But that's there's a lot that we can say about, like backgrounds and stuff like that. And if you've watched any of my previous shows from last year, we talked a lot about perspective and stuff like that, and vibes and the energy flow and stuff like that. Those are things that I feel like I can just go on and on about, and I don't like to just continuously talk about the same thing, because like I said before about talking about love, we find ourselves going in circles of like different situations and different stuff that it all boils down to the same thing. And it's like, hey, what are we really talking about here, or what are we really saying? And there's nothing wrong with that, but it tends to make you spiral. And that's why I like to hear different people's perspective, or hear what other people have to say. And it's cool whenever I like to see people, agreeing with me, or, I like to see people who are, like understand exactly what I'm saying, and it makes me feel like my point is being made and stuff like that, and it's really good. I appreciate that. But like a lot of the time, it doesn't hurt sometimes to get some negative commenting and some negative feedback from some people, to get a little bit of a different perspective. And I mean, sometimes the feed doesn't move as fast as it should, so sometimes the comments come in a little later, and I understand. I don't want that to push people away from, trying to chime into the conversation. Or even if it's a later time, like you're watching the video even after this, like say you're watching this on March 15th, still go ahead and drop those comments in there, because I'm gonna see them. I'm gonna comment on it personally, and actually type in the comment, and we can have a conversation there. We might bring up this conversation the next day, and you can actually hop on the live and get in the conversation with us. And it's really fun to get people's other perspectives on different stuff that we're talking about. It keeps the conversation flowing and it keeps the conversation going. And I thoroughly like to keep conversations going more than like 5 to 10 minutes. But like I said, if it's not too much to speak on, like I said, just from my perspective, and I try my best to speak on other people's perspective or other perspectives in general. And it's I can only do so much. Like I said, and I appreciate when people come in here, but more to topical things on topic. Oh man. Oh well, while I get the camera back. As much as I really, 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 really hate to talk about the C word, I think I'm going to end up talking about it for a little bit. So, and if you don't know what I mean about the C word, I'm talking about COVID. One of the main reasons why we're here even doing the show, watching the show, or, it became a thing in the first place because we were sitting at home and stuff and doing all kinds of nothingness, getting stir crazy. And I've heard that a lot of the things that have been put in place for COVID in some states, like mask mandate, are being lifted. For instance, I think today is the first day in which in Texas y'all don't have to wear a mask anymore, if I'm not mistaken. And that's kind of gross. I don't know how many of you guys are going to just stop wearing masks, but I suggest you wear a mask. I mean, it's only for your own protection, so, it's March 10th? Okay, cool. Well, on March 10th, I suggest y'all continue wearing a mask. Don't be Atlanta. But yeah, it's cool. It's whatever. It's your own personal thing. Like, do what you want to do. You can be your own person. But, yeah. I wonder what other states are. But Tarrant County said, fuck that shit on, like, Monday. I believe it. I very much so believe it. But, yeah. So, I definitely think, that none of this COVID stuff is going to really be over for a while. I don't think they're lifting some of the restrictions. They definitely allowed us to start going back to eat outside and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, it is. It's pretty crazy. I don't see anything getting better, but they start lifting stuff, people start dying more or whatever, and people stop dying, or they'll start seeing who it's killing exactly or whatever, or they'll kill the right amount of people or whatever, and everybody will do this, or they'll give enough people this COVID vaccine that it slows it down, or people will actually start who knows what people will start doing, honestly. It says y'all more lockdown. It says, and it's worse over there. Wearing mine wearing mine accordingly. Still, if everyone was sanitary, I wouldn't have as much of an issue with it, but we all know that's not the case. It says we are starting to chill out over here. It says I personally think it was a bad decision. Yeah, it was very, honestly, I'm gonna say it like this: people are gonna do whatever they want to do. In reality, like, if people want to wear their mask, they're gonna wear their mask. If they don't want to wear their mask, they're not gonna wear their mask. So if they just lift the mandate to wear the mask, I think it'll stop some public arguments per se. So like the people who feel like you should be wearing a mask, they'll be wearing a mask and they can't really like say anything. So it'll stop Karenism a little bit. But I mean, Karens are gonna be Karens, you know. So like, we need to. But yeah, I mean, as far as like the World Star Video community goes, like it might cut back on some of the viral videos of people just being ignorant in the streets, maybe, but who knows. But yeah, exactly. It was never enforced that heavily over there. It was forced pretty heavily over here. I mean, you couldn't police people on the streets that are walking past each other, but definitely as soon as you walk in the store, like they're gonna either tell you to get out or they're gonna be like, "Hey, put a mask on," and they're gonna give you a mask. I mean, honestly, like I said, yeah, if it's really, really that serious, like they should hand you a mask when you step into any facility that, it should really be worn or anything like that if it's not open enough. Says we have, and I could have been considered an anti-masker in the beginning, but realistically, it's not going anywhere anytime soon. By making that decision, we only stand to go backwards. Texas bringing shows back. That's because Texas wants to make that money. And if they're one of the few states that are open to do, concerts, shows, and stuff like that, it'll bring tourists to that state. And I mean, Vegas, they're doing like some shows. They're not doing a whole bunch of stuff, but they were definitely doing shows and all kinds of other, interesting things I was surprised to see. But yeah. Yeah, everything goes in a circle. So, like I said, basically we were going back and forth in circles. It's more than that, but yeah, Chris Bell says, I'm still wearing my mask regardless of them making a bad decision. You got to, like I said, take care of yourself. If you're taking care of yourself, then you can ultimately like fight whatever what everybody else is doing. I mean, if you wear your mask and you have a good what is it, N95 mask, and it's properly filtering out, and you're frequently changing your mask and stuff like that, because that's very important. A lot of people were wearing the same mask every single day, 365 days of the year, and they haven't washed their masks and stuff like that, and that does nothing for you if you're not washing it, changing out the filters and stuff like that. But yeah, but like you said, like I've been saying, like you should wear your mask regardless. I have one of those like neck garter things and stuff like that, like, so I wear one of those most of the time, or I have my regular Chargers mask and stuff like that. I try to wear those all the time and frequently clean and wash them. I really need to put one of the filters into my Chargers mask because that's actually very important. A lot of people don't realize that you still need to put the filter in the cloth mask for it to really properly work right. But yeah, that's a whole other thing for another time. But yeah, like I don't think it was smart for them to lift the ban or whatever, but like I said, it might prevent some Karens from stepping out of line and acting like they can police people and tell them exactly what they're supposed to do or properly how to wear their mask. Granted, I know a lot of the times these masks aren't comfortable for, to go over your nose, and a lot of times people don't wear their mask properly, and that's a huge issue as well. But there's no point in making more issues out of new problems or making new problems and create whatever. You get what I'm saying. Creating an issue out of a new problem. Yeah. But it is what it is. We can't force people around us to do things. We can only influence them. But yeah. So I don't know. I haven't heard too much about any other states doing anything else. As far as like the mandates go with COVID and stuff like that, we all know Atlanta's been the butt of the joke as far as like mandates go, because they were like fuck COVID in the middle of COVID, and so we gonna do what we gonna do, and we gonna make this money. Yeah, like I said, Atlanta. But but yeah, like I said, and besides, you think about it, like Texas is all COVID did was give Texas time to do construction. All y'all been doing is getting mad stuff, like trying to get mad stuff finished. Every time I go back to Texas, I swear they didn't, built so much new stuff since, COVID and all that stuff. Is just giving them time to do construction. They got a few more people off the streets and a lot more construction workers working, because it's like, oh well, let's tell a whole bunch of people like, oh, you can't go to work here, and just be like, well, we're doing construction. I bet you they built a ton of stuff. Now they're trying to get people out, like Texas Live and all that stuff. They're like, oh well, now we need to actually utilize this stuff to the max and all that stuff. Like I said, Karens. Precisely, I think people feeling like they have a right to govern and tell other people what to do had to do with why they prematurely ended the mandate. Like I said, yeah, I had been saying that for a while, but yeah, they I don't know. I wouldn't say if it's like premature, because I mean, one of my friends had pointed it out to me, because I had told him, I was like, well, this has been a pandemic since like January of 2020 or whatever, and he was like, no, technically it's been a pandemic, and starting March. He's like, so in March that technically makes a year. I was like, okay, whatever. And so I mean, it's March now, so it's technically been a full year since it's become a pandemic. And I'm pretty sure, a lot of people are already tired of it. And then there's pretty much a lot of backcountry mountain people, I'm pretty sure, who haven't really had to worry about wearing their mask in some of those states and areas where it's like nobody really goes or nobody really comes. It's just really like the people, the food truck that comes from the big cities, the supply their grocery stores. Like, I'm pretty sure those people weren't really wearing masks like that heavy way out there where nobody really reports the news from and stuff like that. Like, but that's just an assumption. I mean, because I just know, like I said, the more out of the city area I was, because I've traveled when, during COVID, me and my family and stuff like that, we went out up to Indiana. We drove from Texas to Indiana, and I can definitely tell you, in between some of those states from Texas to Indiana, there was a lot of places where people weren't really, they weren't wearing masks. Like, they might have had a sign on the door and maybe the cashier was wearing a mask, but everybody else in the store wasn't wearing a mask. Make sure, I guarantee you, like, me and my family, we were going in there with masks because we were like coming from other states and stuff like that, so we wasn't trying to catch what they had. But to the point, like I said, in a lot of those little towns that we was going through and stuff like that, those people weren't wearing masks. And like I said, so I'm pretty sure, there's a lot of people who weren't wearing masks already, and there's a lot of people who wearing the mask hasn't affected, and it wasn't even a thing. So I mean, other than like the rural areas and stuff like that of Texas and like the cities and all that type of stuff, like that's where it was really affecting. So I mean, Dallas is just like, okay, well, we're one of the big cities of the United States, so we're gonna go ahead and open up and get this money flowing back in, because we're missing a lot of money. Like, we built a lot of stuff. We need some more money to come in. I'm pretty sure. This isn't like a guarantee, but yeah, this is just an assumption. But yeah. What are y'all saying? Let me see here. It says, last thing I read was basically AKA Karen's. It says, I think it gave many states the time to upgrade. We just had those new apartment buildings finished with a whole street light and everything. Oh wow, this is moving. Y'all dropped a couple of bigger comments. It's bigger than my comment section reads. Are the comments even coming on the screen? Screened? anyway. Wait. Yeah, I don't see those there, but it's cool. I don't. Yeah, no, that's not real. Oh, but anyway, like I was saying, I was reading it. It says, yeah, a lot. Technically, it's been longer since the first case was back in November 2019. Yeah, no, I know. But like I said, since they officially declared it a pandemic until March, like you said, it says the cases didn't start in 2019, but it wasn't declared a pandemic until March 2020. Yeah, that's what, like I said, cases didn't start in 2019, but they didn't care in Arkansas. Like I said, yeah. Uh, it says facts. Went into the gas station, no mask, and it felt weird. Thought someone was going to be like, "Ma'am, you need a mask." What do you think about enforcing masks to walk inside a restaurant or certain venues only to be able to take it off right after you enter? Kind of defeats the whole purpose. It very much so defeats the purpose. It's just like I said, it's just like, oh, we have to do this, and people don't really care to follow the rules, but they'll do the bare minimum of a rule to say they're following it. It says it's going to be a COVID-19 breakout here in Texas. They're moving too fast, and this virus is not under control and may never be. Honestly, the way they're treating it and stuff like this, I don't think it'll ever be over either. I really feel like if they start doing big concerts and stuff like that, it'll only, I don't know. I really feel like it's just like an old people disease, to be real at this point. Just to, like I said, so I feel like young people may get it and carry it, and it'll be almost dormant in them. There's a few people who, it really affects, and there's a few people I've seen get it numerous times and then come back from it and be perfectly fine. So like I said, I feel like it's like a dormant thing, and then certain young people go around these old people who don't have the strength to fight it, or don't even have the will to fight it, because that's part of a lot of fighting a disease. It's like you actually have to have that will to get your body to fight, but to continue on. But like I said, they don't have it to fight off the disease or the virus, and they end up passing away. Even if they manage to fight off the COVID virus, then it's whatever their underlying effects already were managed to put a toll on them enough, a lot more, to actually be the thing that may kill them. So it's not even like COVID is something that was actually killing them, but it's a virus that's a lot more vicious and weakening your immune system at the current moment. So like you said, it's something that may never go away. Like I said, I've told people I feel like getting a COVID vaccine may become like people get the flu virus vaccine, so, or get a flu shot. So you're gonna get a COVID shot and a flu shot once a year, just like anything else. And I wouldn't doubt that'd be like a new mandate as far as everyday life, school requirements. I remember going to school or starting school, you had to go and get your shots, your shot records updated, and take them to the school, and so on and so forth. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's a new thing. Like I said, it wouldn't be a shock. I'm not thinking that anything would be, but what do I think about? I addressed that. But to come back to the restaurant thing, I'd understand a lot more if in the restaurants, because I've seen some of these restaurants. Like I remember me and Mary recently and Champ went to BJ's, I believe it was, and we sat out on their patio. But I noticed at their inside the restaurant, on all of the booths and stuff, they had put these real tall, like actual, like installed, like glass walls. Not like, you see at some of these restaurants do these kind of temporary partitions with the plexiglass and all that type of stuff. No, they had installed actual like glass on every single booth, and I'm not 100% sure, they might have had that previously to just like make things a little bit more secluded. But even if they didn't, I seen that they did that, and if they close off the booths maybe a little bit more to the point where things are a lot more secluded, I feel like it would play a bigger part, or actually make a bigger point into actually, like, you have to wear the mask when you come in until you actually are seated at your table. Then once you get to the table, you could take it off. That would make a lot more sense, but I don't think it's going to actually go to those lengths and so on. But y'all said that's the sus part of me. Going a little conspiracyist here, but do you think COVID really came from bats like they supposedly say, or is there a deeper reason for its origin? I can't help but think it was man-made or manipulated in a lab somehow and released in the public. It says flu vaccines been a thing my whole life, so it seems normal, but I was here for the start of COVID and saw all the shady shit they've been doing, so it makes me skeptical about this vaccine. It says all viruses are man-made, and they said it came from China, but we still trade and get a lot of products from them. Clubs been going crazy out here. You just need a mask to get in, then just do whatever you want. Okay, so going back to the conspiracy theory question or whatever. So I've actually spent a lot of time thinking of conspiracy theories, talking about conspiracy theories and stuff like that, and actually linking some true facts to some of these things. So as far as that goes, I wouldn't say an actually conspiracy theory. So as far as it goes from coming from China, that is more factual. They do know that it came from China and from bats, only for the simple fact that they're actively as far as human science and medical science goes, they're actively trying to go out there and gather animals and animal saliva and things like that and look into different creatures and so on and so forth. So they're constantly discovering new and other diseases now, like I said, and figuring out how those things, like I said, transpire into or correlate into human beings, or how we could possibly get those things into us or possibly catch the disease. They look up and research those type of things. So on that part, like I said, the research that they're doing over there in China on the bats that they actually have said that they found plenty of diseases that bats carry that humans may not be able to catch, but after they get introduced into other animals like swine and stuff especially pigs. That's why they say pigs are such disgusting creatures, because they can ingest so much stuff, or they can carry so many different diseases and stuff like that, and that's how a lot of diseases kind of get transported into humans, especially chickens. That's why we have a lot of like the swine flu, or we had the bird flu and stuff like that. So those are things that actually were mutated in those animals that came from other animals. So like I said, with those things, there's plenty of research and stuff that they do on those animals. So like you said, to the point of like it coming from China and stuff like that. The research that they're doing over there in China on the animals that they have and stuff like that, they were the people who discovered it and stuff like that. So in their labs, like I said, there's any possibility that in any one of these scientific labs, in which whether they're in America, China, Africa, so on and so forth, those places, like I said, they could have an outbreak of any sort at any moment in time, just due to the fact that they actually have these things living in petri dishes and so on and so forth, because they have to have these things actually living and mutating them in their labs to more so understand how it is. So the idea of, something easily getting out because somebody may have had a glove on and they accidentally touched the outside of the glove before they were, desanitized or whatever, and like I said, that got carried out on their coat or whatever, and then they ate a cheeseburger on the way home. And like I said, there's plenty of ways. And then they went and flew to Indonesia, where they came in contact with 12 people, and they sneezed on the airplane, which those 12 people were on 12 different flights, which flew to America, Africa, and all this other stuff. And things can easily spread just like that. So like I said, to the thought of the conspiracy theory and stuff like that, like there's a lot of truth to that. There's just a lot of things where people start to just speculate and assume things. So, and then they start like pointing fingers. And then of course at the time we had Donald Trump in office, so he loves to point fingers at people and things like that. But y'all were saying the clothes been going crazy here. The government world responds to it in the way COVID affects certain people worse than others. Some people have all kinds of different life-threatening symptoms, and others never get sick. Defies logic, and you can't help but wonder if there's a certain agenda behind it all. Very true. Not to mention, it usually takes 5 years to make an effective vaccine. They made one for the worst pandemic in less than a year. Something just don't add up. It's money behind it, honestly. If you think about it, there's tons of different companies that you can buy stock in at this current moment that are trying to race to make an effective vaccine. And I know plenty of people who are waiting for Johnson & Johnson to come out with their vaccine, and that's the one they're betting on. And it's kind of funny though that like different companies are racing to make a vaccine, and like you said, it takes 5 years to make a real effective vaccine, but they're coming up with vaccines within a year. That's because it's, like I said, it's something that they've already been playing around with and working on. So the idea of it getting out and them like seeing like, okay, well, let's test the water, see how this hits or whatever. Because I don't doubt that they've been doing stuff like this for years, and they just like, it's almost like, because like I said, I actually pointed this out to a lot of people. But if you think about it, every presidential every president, we have at least one disease or virus come out. So I was just joking around to people. I was like, oh, this is Donald Trump's disease. Like, he gets to have one. And I was like, as Donald Trump, he was a chaos president, or a president of chaos. So he was like, I joke around and say like, oh, well, to the point of, this is more on the conspiracy theory end, but like I said, to the point of having a president, every term gets a disease that they get to release out into the public to, like level out the population a little bit, if you will. And, Donald Trump, like I said, with being a chaos president, he was like, ooh, I like this one. It looks like it'll wipe out like a couple million people. He's like, if we can wipe out a few million worldwide, then we can do such and such and such. And it's like almost on America as like in itself, because America likes to stick their noses in a lot of things and so on and so forth. We get to choose like these diseases, and that's why, like, because it's funny how we have like all these summits where a lot of countries come together, and then all these countries are still like feuding with each other and so on and so forth. So you really like want to understand where it is that these political lines are really drawn. Like we understand, like, okay, well, this person and this like rules this and stuff, and so like who is actually over everything. And like if money rules everything, then if the banks are the people who hold all the money, like aren't they the people who rule the world? And like it's really confusing where this power structure really breaks down. But I said to stay more on topic of what we was actually saying and where we was. It says the government / world responds to it all, and COVID affects certain people in worse way. Yeah, it says not to mention the usually takes exactly 5 years come with a vaccine. It says that's what you can't. That's what you can't eat raw chicken or pork. I think you mean that's why you can't eat raw chicken or pork. That's why going vegan doesn't sound bad right now. It's like I understand that. It says I'm not going anywhere near a vaccine. Very true. They've been, like I said, they've been testing stuff on black people and stuff like that for years. So, I mean, as far as them just putting out a vaccine so quickly, like I said, if they had an agenda of trying to kill a couple million people, and it's like, okay, well, let's see who can get a vaccine out fast enough just for money's sake, and they're like, well, let's see how much money we can make while we still kill a couple million people, and I forget what that number was at the beginning of like when COVID started. There was like, yeah, well, if X amount of million people died in the world, like we would be all right still, it wouldn't be like a bad thing, and if we could come back from that, like that would be perfectly fine. Money equals power. Nah, you right. Wait, what? I don't know what you mean, but yeah, money does equal power, and it's crazy how, like I said, just figure out how the power structure actually breaks down and a whole bunch of other things. But to the point of everything that we're talking about, COVID, it's a very confusing and hard time, if anything. Yeah, I did say the banks are in charge. Yeah, no, I mean, I got that part. Yeah, I was following, but I was just trying to like think of more in context of like I said, because the comments come in a little bit after things I've been saying. But yeah, I was just trying to think of more in context of where each comment was being placed. But yeah, because I saw the money equals power. Like I said, due to the fact, like I was saying, the banks probably rule everything since they're the ones that hold all the money, and somebody has to run and or own the banks. So yeah, and it's funny because then John goes to say they're playing Russian roulette with people's lives and livelihoods at this point. I feel like they've always been doing that, and we just never realized it. Like that's what's so. Honestly, to come back full circle about what we were kind of talking about earlier a little bit, those are the things when you think about it, like you say, like they're playing Russian roulette with people's lives and livelihoods. I feel like they've always been doing that. We just never were old enough to realize like how much so they were doing that, because we were so innocent in a sense, and then the thought of like remaining that innocent is almost, you think about it, as like pure bliss, as far as like just how simple of a time things were back when you didn't realize these are like the things that were going on. Because you think back on like your life and growing up, and the things that actually were going on while we were kids, like you remember 9/11, to think, imagine being the age you are now and when 9/11 was actually going on and how people were acting and the people around us, how they were reacting. But I distinctly remember, like, oh yeah, 9/11 was happening. This happened. They, pulled us in after recess. They told us, like, yeah, went home, told my mom, was like, yeah, this happened at school. They told us about this. She was like, yeah, it's all over the news. It was like, yeah. And I was like, oh yeah, we're talking about it. We're talking about it. I'm about to go upstairs and play Pokemon. Like, and it wasn't a problem, or it wasn't really like a big issue. I do remember everybody running around and telling you how like dramatic and crazy things are going on. But like you say, ignorance is bliss. And it's almost, like I said, it is almost like sad in the sense of thinking about how ignorant and like lack of knowledge could feel so good. Or just think back on it as such a positive thing. But then you think about the people who are your age now and our age and my age, like, if you are that ignorant, like, how are you this old and still this ignorant? And we almost think down on those people and talk down on them, or like, it's almost like, how could you care for this person, in a sense? But that's not like really what I'm telling you. Just not care about ignorant people. But yeah, what were y'all saying here? Y'all said, if you're already a skeptical person, it really makes it hard to trust our government. Very true. And you talk about millions and millions of people, so no wonder a lot of people don't take it seriously. Very true. You're talking about millions and millions of people. No wonder a lot of people don't take it seriously. They created the perfect storm of doubt and speculation. Like, yeah, ignorance is bliss. Yeah, you're right. They probably had this in the works for years, and because of this situation, we are only just now finally becoming more aware. I mean, yeah, that is a very big possibility. Like I said, this could have been something they've been planning for years, because I feel like things you see movies about and stuff like that, it's like, well, it's not like nobody else has ever thought of something this drastic before. Like, you watch a movie about something like Inception, right? And you think about it, and it's like, well, if somebody thought about it to make a movie out of it, there's probably somebody out there who has actually tried to do something of this nature. Granted, nobody can probably have the power to jump into people's dreams and like force people to think certain ways, but I mean, to the point of like, maybe like kind of how people try to inadvertently learn languages and stuff like that by listening to language tapes while they're asleep and stuff like that. Like, people can try to plant ideas in people's minds in a certain way. And to that point, like I said, like, if you see something super crazy and drawn out in a movie, I'm pretty sure somewhere somebody has tried something along the natures of that within reality. And it's not a... Yeah, exactly. Inception is done through the media. Like I said, they take an idea or a concept of something and say it may be happening here, and they constantly play different ideas on it. And Nancy Grace speculates on what she thinks it is that they're doing, and then they create this narrative in which something is happening, and that's not the true reality in which it's happening. That's just what they want you to believe. And that's very very messed up, but we can't do much about that, except for try and properly educate ourselves on what's actually going on. And there's not much about it, but to the point of what I was saying, like I said, like, there is no one person who comes up with an idea. It's only one person that we may recognize for a single idea. And some people need to understand that they're not not everybody is just this prophetic person who comes up with all these original ideas and stuff like that. They're just maybe the first person to have a record of it. But yeah, the first person to have full on public acknowledgement of it. But yeah, but we ran quite long for today. It is already been going for about an hour and 10. I appreciate everybody for coming and commenting today. This is awesome. I appreciate all the energy and vibes coming through with everything in today's conversation. Hopefully we'll continue on tomorrow. Maybe we'll continue on talking about COVID, as much as I hate talking about COVID, but it is a pressing issue with everybody's day-to-day lifestyle. So it is something that everybody has to deal with. So I understand why a lot of people have things that they kind of want to talk about or possibly get off of their chest. Like I said, I have a lot of conspiracy theories and things I believe about COVID and things that I've said in previous videos about COVID that we can talk about if y'all would love to continue it tomorrow and have a COVID Friday. But yeah. Like I said, this is going to be it for today. We can continue on tomorrow. Same time tomorrow, 10 o'clock. I always want to put the, what is it? Was it Pacific Standard Time or something? Whatever. I can't never remember the actual name of the time zone. But anyway. But yeah. See you guys tomorrow. This is Let's Talk About It with Jeffrey Dub. And we